Welcome to Real Talk with Garrett and Laura. Today we're going over the things in the middle of the transaction that people may not know much about.
Yes, it is a weird stage of the transaction. It's a lot of waiting around. I get a lot of anxious calls during this stage. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? It was so busy at the beginning when we were writing the offers and it's so frantic. And then there's just this pause and it's hard.
Yep, and things go so fast at the beginning of the contract, getting your offer in, everything like that, beating out other offers, and then now it really just slows down. And today we'll talk about escrow, title, the appraisal process, and what that means for your loan, and then signing at the end.
Okay, awesome. So first we're going to start with escrow. And this cracks me up kind of because I feel like everybody does know what escrow is, but every TV show pretends like nobody understands escrow. In Gilmore Girls, TJ's like, I'm an escrow, and he has no idea what escrow is. And in Friends, they're pretending like, or Chandler acts like he still doesn't understand what escrow is, even though people have explained it to him over and over again. And sort of silly, but I do feel like most people understand escrow.
Right. And it's great that you learned it from Gilmore Girls and Friends. So, that's how it's done. Escrow is that neutral third party, and they have no skin in the game, but they hold your earnest money, and they're going to look at all the documentation and make sure that everything is going smooth from the official paperwork side.
Well, and they don't have sides, so they just want to make sure everything's easy for all of us. So they're a great resource. They're the safe place of the transaction. Basically, they're the ones managing the title and the signings, and they're an awesome resource.
Yep. And that brings us to title. And title and escrow are connected in that in the middle of the transaction, you will get the preliminary title report sent to you. Fun fact is we see it on the back end before, but in the middle, you'll get sent to your inbox. And we mainly go through and check for liens against the property, make sure that there isn't any outstanding financial pieces or sketchy things linked to the property that you're buying.
Yeah. And the titles are actually really interesting. I'm realizing that it might only be interesting to people who care about real estate, but they often have really old covenants on them, sometimes 100 years old, obviously, depending on the age of your house. And they're super interesting to read. Most of the really racist ones from redlining in Seattle have been removed at this point, but every now and then you'll see stuff that it's just like, wow, I can't believe. But obviously it's easy to believe and hard to believe at the same time, kind of painful. But basically what we're really looking for is easements, and usually it's just utility company easements, any recorded easement with a neighbor, a driveway. I once saw one from the 80s. My clients were buying a house, and the easement was like an agreement that because their driveway was 1.5 feet over the neighbor's property line. And basically the agreement said, like, if you ever redo your driveway, this agreement is void. So I, of course, told my clients, hey, I just want you guys to know that your driveway is technically over their property line. If you decide to redo the driveway, it did have some cracks, you're going to have to move in. Obviously they kind of laughed at this and were like, this is not a deal breaker, but that's our job, is to see what's there, and so that they're fully informed before they make this purchase. What if that 1.5 feet was a deal breaker?
Totally. Or to have that conversation with the neighbor ahead of time and say, hey, we still want to redo the driveway. Can we keep this in place and all good?
Yeah.
And then also too, if anyone out there wants to see old codes, covenants, and restrictions from Laurelhurst neighborhood or Windermere neighborhood, let us know. We'll find something funky and scary and send it your way.
Actually, sorry, tangent. There's a really cool exhibit at the Wing Luke Museum in the Central District, I think it's where it's located. And it has an exhibit on redlining. It's really, really interesting just to learn about. So fun plug for the Wing Luke Museum.
Hey, and back to finishing up the preliminary title report. So that'll come from the title company, and it's them saying, hey, they're committing to providing insurance to the lenders. So that matters in the transaction of your loan, and then also shows up as a closing statement of, hey, how come we have all these closing costs and fees and everything? That's all part of it.
Yeah. Okay. So titles are weird. What if the title falls apart on the buy side?
Yeah. Good question. And then that makes it on the seller and on the listing agent for them to figure out how to clear title. So they're agreeing in selling the property that they're going to provide clear title to it. So if you're under contract to buy and something is up with the title, then the sellers have to figure it out. You've agreed on terms at that point, you've agreed on price, and therefore you could sue them if you wanted to for failure to perform. That's a little dramatic. What would most likely be is, hey, yes, we still want this house. We'll give you another week or two to make sure that the title's all clear, so that when we're buying it, that it's all on your name and all good to go. But still, you could do that. You
could. I mean, it's definitely dramatic, especially if someone wants to sell and someone wants to buy. You're going to move forward and figure it out, but still, it's a possibility. Okay, well, let's move on and talk about appraisals and why they're so significant to the process.
Totally. And so the appraisal is also done by a third party. For it's any buyer getting the loan. The bank will get an appraisal done to determine the home's value based on the contract price, and given its appropriate condition and features to it, and then compare it to homes that have sold in the area probably about 6 months back.
And so the lender orders the appraisal. It takes place through an appraisal management company, and then the report comes back to the lender about 2 weeks before closing. So, in the meantime, there's nothing that, to be done on our end, except for hoping that it appraises at value or above value, just to make sure that you don't have to provide extra cash on top of your down payment to cover the difference of value.
Totally. Yep. And the appraisers will ask the listing agent how many offers the home got, just to know what the competition was, and what the market was willing to pay for. But they're also their valuation is based on past comparables, not future hope for the price. So that's where just the valuation of what a realtor may come up with is different from what an appraiser, different from what a developer type person may think for the future.
Yeah. And just to be really honest, we have not seen an appraisal come back under value in, at least the last couple of years. So it's like, there's so many offers on these places that it's clear to these appraisers that this home is worth what you have offered, especially if it was a competitive situation.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, that brings us now to signing. So it's probably the most fun part of the transaction. And signing is really simplified these days. You will sign all the closing documents with a notary. They'll either take place at your house or your work, rather than at the escrow office downtown or some big office complex now.
Yeah, it's really convenient. They come to the place that you want them to, which makes the process even smoother. Especially, in COVID, I saw neighbors refinancing and signing stuff on the hood of their car. So like the notary just comes to you, and it's fantastic. And during this whole process, we're in the background. We're making sure everybody's being held accountable. We're talking to escrow that all of the debits and credits for the closing statement are getting taken care of. And we're just communicating with each person throughout the whole process. So it just helps, to know that even though this is a pretty light touch part on your side, we're still very involved in the transaction, making sure, that our clients know that we have our hand in each step.
Yep. And so, that's all for what happens once you go under contract, and all the next steps kind of in the middle part of it there. So it is a lot of hurry up and wait, but with us, you'll get a Tuesday update, a Friday update, saying, here's what to expect, here's what's going on, and the next steps. And so we really want to show to you, we are proactive, and you get our 10+ service, all throughout the transaction. And our hope is that you don't have to ask questions, that will already be a step ahead, saying, hey, here's what to expect next, so that you don't freak out or have any questions like that.
And we want to add value to such a significant moment and decision, and make it feel as seamless as possible, even when there's bumps. We want it to be seamless start to finish. So thanks for watching Real Talk with Garrett and Laura. Comment, tell us what you want us to talk about next month. We'll be here next month, every month, in your Instagram.
See you guys. Have a good one.